will please take your seat. Good evening and welcome. We're going to have the invocation this evening by Reverend Hosea Clay from Fountain of Life Christian Church in Ellenwood. That will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And as he's coming forward, as we all stand, I'm going to ask to take a minute of silence for Clayton County Police Officer Darrell Wallace to celebrate his life. So let's please have a minute of silence. Okay, thank you for that, Pastor.
Let's bow our heads. Father, we invite you now to look on and bless these commissioners as they conduct the business affairs of Clayton County. I pray now that you would bless them with wisdom and honesty, integrity, transparency, and concern for your people, character and clarity of thought. We ask it now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can invite him. No, I said we can invite him back.
Oh, we absolutely.
Good evening and welcome to the March 17, 2015 regular business meeting. We will now have an adoption of the agenda. Does any members want to offer any amendments?
I believe we have an amendment to the MOU. Is that correct, Ms. Barnes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. Madam Clerk, I've passed out an updated revision to the MOU with Marta's Police Department. This is pertaining to resolution number 2015 dash 71
Why is this on the
for the
dais?
board's review.
Is this an amendment?
May we have a motion to accept that amendment?
I will make the motion on that. Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Probably moved in second. Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Are there any other amendments?
Is there, we have this performance agreement. Is this another amendment?
It is. I apologize, Madam Commissioner. That was brought back from the previous Board of Commissioners meeting. There was an issue that Commissioner Edmondson had about the county's noise ordinance and how this performance agreement would impact it. And so we've brought it back. We've included some additional language to make sure that there is no conflicting language with the noise ordinance.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the new amendment to the performance agreement with Freestyle Production LLC.
And I'll second it. Are there any questions or further discussion on this item? All right. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Are there any other? Hearing none, may we have adoption of the agenda with those two amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the agenda with the noted changes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Probably moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Approval of the March 3rd, 2015 regular business meeting minutes. I understand Commissioner Rooks wants to make some amendments.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, on page 3, just clarifying for the record, under comment section with dialogue with Ms. Kimberly Kirby, I move to amend the second paragraph of point 4, last sentence. Ms. Kirby advised that there was nothing listed within the Clayton County Code that outlines what breeds are adoptable and non-adoptable, but yet this is practice at the county shelter. Commissioner Rooks stated that vicious dogs are not adoptable per the code. That's what the statement was.
Okay, you're asking to.
To
scratch-
add
add.
per the code was the conversation.
All right, we're adding per the code, and I'm gonna second that motion. Is any other discussion on the minutes? All right, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And then one final point on page 9. Regarding the MOU issue. Right above 16. Commissioner Rooks stated that she understood that, however, the MOU should clearly outline who the chief law enforcement officer is and not just a general statement. What that should have said was, Commissioner Rooks stated that she understood that, however, the MOU should clearly outline who the chief law enforcement officer is, period.
Are we clear on that, Ms. Barnes? All right, I'll second that motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
With those amendments, may we have an adoption of the March 3rd, 2015 regular business meeting minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the minutes with the noted changes.
Is there a second?
Second. Go ahead. Third.
Properly moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mayor, do we have a presentation from Marta, or was anyone coming?
No, it's a point of privilege. I'm gonna allow her to come up here and introduce her team.
That's one.
All right.
We will now have public comments. Mr. Chairman, we do have citizens signed up this evening. Citizens will be given 3 minutes maximum time limit to speak before the Board of Commissioners. Please state your name and county of residence for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone, and speakers should be courteous, respectful, and not make disparaging remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Dr. Henry Anderson.
Good evening, all. I want to thank you, Chairman Turner, for reaching out to me from after the last commission meeting when I sent an email to all of you all expressing my concerns with Marta's commitment to public safety. You reached out to me and we met and we had a very informative and enlightening discussion. It means a lot for you to have done that. You all are the power in this county, all 5 of you. And when I come before you with issues, because you are the decision makers, your power, like I've stated, is so strong in the county that the constitutional officers, the sheriff, the tax commissioner, the district attorney, all of the judges, magistrates, superior court, state court, and the solicitor general have to present their budgets to you for approval. So when I bring issues before you, it's because of the power that you have. My issues are what a lot of citizens have, but they don't like coming to public comment. They may not express them to you, but this is where the action is. This is the power, the decision making, where it occurs. Marta is using, since you all approve, you listen to your constituents and approve Marta to come into this county, 74% voted. Marta is using you all, well, when I say using, not in a negative sense, but all in the paper. I have 2 folders, one that collects articles for Marta in Clayton County and Marta in general. And all throughout the articles, they are happy because Clayton County has approved to join Marta. You learn a lot from reading the newspaper. Information, knowledge, and education is power. For example, like in this article here, let other counties vote on Marta. I did not know that only 5 counties have the right to join Marta: Cobb, Gwinnett, Fulton, DeKalb, and Clayton. And Clayton is the only county in the 42-year history of Marta to join. And the other counties do not have the same rights. In the connector, you learn about Marta's plan, how they're going after choice riders. Clayton County citizens had a need for Marta. So it is my hope that you will remember that, because when people have a need, it's one thing. When people don't have a need, but when Marta goes after folk that are, I call them, as the article say, choice riders, where they ride because they want to. So it is my hope that going forward that you will make sure that Marta And you moved my indicator, so to speak, Chairman Turner, from that of no optimism and no confidence to guarded optimism and guarded confidence that MARTA will do right by us. You have done a great thing for the citizens of Clayton County, but it is my hope that you will use all power and all authority to make sure MARTA does right by this county, that they give us value not only for what we pay for even more, because the citizens of Clayton County at least deserve that. And even though we talked about a public safety, you know, and you gave me confidence that you will work strong on that, but in all areas, because, you know, we're watching and you did a great thing for the citizens, but make sure MARTA does right and give us value and more, because we have been beneficial to MARTA as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeff Brandon.
Hi there. My name is Jeff Brandon. I'm a resident of Spalding County. I am a 34-year employee of the Clayton County Water Authority and did previously live in Clayton County. Actually grew up in Clayton County. I am here to speak my mind on the pension plan proposals that are going to be presented to you, and I'd like to read my statement so I don't lose any of my points. Again, I'm a 34-year employee of the Clayton County Water Authority, and on behalf of myself, my wife, who is also an employee of the Water Authority, and many co-workers with Clayton County Water Authority, as well as employees that I have spoken to that work for the county, I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about these proposed revisions to the Clayton County Public Employees Retirement Plan. So, thank you. The revisions that are being proposed, in my opinion, and in our opinion, those that I'm speaking for as well, that have given me that permission, will negatively affect the incomes and quality of life of every county and water authority employee, and it is unacceptable as it's being proposed. In 1986, and it may have been in 2006, we incurred similar increases in employee contributions to the plan for a COLA for retirees, which we as employees did not want. It was the general consensus at the time, my understanding as far as I understood, and which most of us will not live to benefit from based on doing the math on the program, or will be too old to really need when we start receiving benefits from that COLA. On top of this, past employees who had retired prior to having contributed to the retirement COLA are receiving annual COLA increases that they did not help to fund, but instead those who will likely never benefit from it are funding it. And I'm going to bring this about and tie it into the proposed changes. I'm certain that there have been several factors over the past several years that have affected the health of the pension plan in the recent years, which include the COLA increases to retirees who never helped to fund it, the short-lived early or lump sum payout plans that were offered several years ago and that went away several years thereafter, and that were likely put in place to benefit certain people. And lastly, the economy downturn that occurred several years ago. Of these items that have negatively affected the health of the plan, there is only one that I can think of that we can do something about at this point in the game, and that is the COLA increases to retirees who did not contribute to funding it. I respectfully request to you, the Board of Commissioners, not to approve the proposed revisions to the plan and to charge the pension board to go back and look at other options for keeping the plan healthy, including discontinuing all future COLA increases to retirees that did not help to fund the COLA, and to stop making decisions about the plan without input from all participants in the plan.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, your 3-minute time limit has expired.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Nick Tolbert.
Good evening. Just to kind of tag on what Mr. Brandon said, as far as the increase in the plan. A lot of the young people in our department, I'm with fire and EMS, they're not looking 25 or 30 years down the road for retirement. They're looking at the paycheck, and what they're seeing is the 3% that we just got 12 months ago, last July, is fixing to be dropped to a 1% raise, which is pretty much going to be a wash of the increase. With that being said, I was hired at the fire department in October of 1984. I was 18 years old. In July, I'll be 50. July of 16, I'll be 50. October of 16, I'll have 32 years, so I'll be maxed at 50 years old. If this goes through like the pension board is wanted to, I will have worked with, if I don't have any sick time to use toward my retirement, I have about a year of sick time. I've had a couple of surgeries. So if I work that 5 years to keep from getting that age penalty, that'll cost me 37%. I'll be paying to work, in other words. I'll be paying the county or the pension fund 37.5% to earn 30% of age penalty. Because if I left at 50, I would take the age penalty at 6% a year, that's 30%. So if I'm paying the 7.5% over 5 years, that money doesn't benefit me, since I'm already maxed out in the retirement plan. Luckily, I'll have a year of sick time. I can leave, and it'll cost me 30% if I stayed to earn 24, because I would just take 4 years of penalty. What I'd like for them to look at is those of us that came when we were 18 were maxed out at 32 years. We're 50 years old. We came straight out of high school. We stayed. I think something needs to be looked at, either to do away with the penalties if we are maxed with 32 years, or do drastically reduce them, because we're getting hit also as well with insurance. Insurance is going to cost us another $100 a month if we don't have our family on it, and it's $200 if it is. So I just like for, to be heard. I'm really surprised that over the years this hadn't been brought up, and maybe it has and I'm just not aware of it, but now that I'm kind of getting close, I'm kind of opening my eyes to it, and I think something needs to be done. We pulled our 32 years, we stayed. Us and the sheriff's department are pretty much the only ones in the public safety arena that can be hired at 18, because PD, you got to be 21, so. But I think that's something that needs to be looked at. We've done our time, we pulled 32 years, we're maxed out, but yeah, if we have to stay for age, we actually got to pay to work. So it's kind of, either we can pay you 37% and stay and get 30% at the end, or, and I'm not.
I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Freddie Johnson.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Freddie Johnson. I am a citizen of Clayton County. I reside in Riverdale. I live off of Bethesda Road. I'm here tonight because I'd like to express my concerns regarding Southern Regional Hospital. I wrote to you all, I copied you all, a letter that I sent to the Chief of Staff at Southern Regional, and I'd like to take the moment now to go ahead and read that. I sent it to Southern Regional, and I addressed it to whom it may concern. I said, please direct this email to your Chief of Staff, Kim Ryan. On Tuesday, March 10th, my husband collapsed to the floor, withering in severe stomach pain. I was able to gather him up and drive him to your emergency room. We stood in line for almost an hour. When we could not take it anymore, he asked that I take him home. He said, I'd rather die in my bed than to die on this floor withering in pain like a dog. So I did. It is a shame what I witnessed there. On only one customer service window open, with the reception being in no hurry to help get patients checked in. My family have used your facility for as long as we moved here 28 years ago. We have held on to our home in Clayton County and always spoke highly supporting of Southern Regional, even when our friends did not. After our less than satisfied customer experience, I have agreed with how poor the service has become. In fact, this experience has made us see that Riverdale, Clayton County is no longer a desirable community. When your hospital is so inept, it's time to move on. Therefore, I hope this letter will be an incentive to improve your service and responsibility to others who visit your facilities. I will be sharing our experience with the Clayton County Commissioners since they asked us to support you at a crucial time, and when we need you, you failed us. In closing, I want you to know that we as a family have contributed greatly to Clayton County. I am a retired executive with Allstate Insurance Company. I was also employed with Clayton County Public Schools after retiring from corporate. My husband, who would have been your patient, is a retired veteran. He owned an Allstate insurance agency in this county, and he is currently a Clayton County jury commissioner.
Excuse me, Ms. Johnson, I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
In closing, I just hope that you all would do something with the hospital. You've asked the constituents to help them, and I read that there is more to come where we are expected to pay our tax money.
We'll
Please
keep
help
an
us.
eye on it, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Quinn Howard.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Quinn Howard, and I'm a resident of Clayton County. First of all, I would just like to thank Commissioner Gregory for responding to an email. The next thing, I would like to thank our chairman, Mr. Turner, for making sure that my volunteers had a place to prepare taxes. The reason that I'm here, I just want to share some concerns. I am a VITA coordinator, and VITA means Volunteer Income Tax Assistant, and I have been at the Clayton County Public Library, the headquarters, for the last 10 years, but the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant program has been there for 20 years. This year, we were not able to go in there. So my concern is I have elderly, disabled, handicapped people that gets in the line about 3 o'clock in the morning, and they wait to have their taxes prepared. For the last, I guess, 11, 12 years, we have prepared about 500 people. So my concern is that because people stand outside and wait, I would just like for the board to consider the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Program to go into the Clayton County Headquarter Library 10 Saturdays out of a month. On the last Saturday in January up until April the 15th. I like for us to be able to go in there from 9 to 5. So if you all could please consider and approve allowing us to go in there and prepare taxes for our residents here at Clayton County, I would certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I have a question. I'm sorry, ma'am. Prior to this year, did you have no resistance about preparing the taxes there?
Not at all.
So what happened?
Well, what I was
Oh,
And there were some policy issues
Okay.
that she looked at. But
and I wasn't aware.
right.
okay.
So please help us.
But we'll check into that and look into
Okay.
what we can do.
Also, if I can just say this, what I'm doing now, I have to also give Mayor Bobby Cartwright, I'm not sure if he's in the building, but if it had not been for him on January 31st, I'm running around in my car just looking for a place, but he so graciously opened up his doors for us to come in Lovejoy Community Center. So I have about 4 weeks to go. So if you all can just please, because now, once again, thank you, Chairman Turner. I'm either in the Clayton County Police Department or at Lovejoy, but the people are so straggling because they don't know. And then we had a problem with the Clayton County Public Library actually giving them information at one point, but that was resolved. So I really appreciate them for doing that. So I just need you all to please support us 10 weeks out of a year, every Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Miyoshi Bourget. Did I say it right? Did I get it? All right.
Thank
I'm proud of myself.
Good evening. For almost a year now, I've been coming before you to talk about economic development. And economic development is critical to this county, as I've said time and time again. And it translates into tax revenue for this county that funds salaries, that funds the pensions, that funds services for our county, transportation now, and it contributes to our quality of life. And it is so critical that we have a strong leader, which is what has been my call for this county. And I have a question for you. Where are we? Do we have a new economic development
Next
director?
meeting, we're hoping to make a recommendation.
Okay. All right, I'll be back then.
All right?
Thank you very
We'll
much.
count on you.
That concludes public comment. We will now have two presentations. The first is the Clayton County Greenway Trail Master Plan revisions. We will first hear from Nathan Perry with Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Been with the county for 12 years, working on green space. In 2008, I worked with Parks and Recreation and got a Trails Master Plan portion in theirs. Through steadfast desire to get a relationship with the Path Foundation for their years of practical experience. You guys agreed to have a master plan developed, and people are here to present it. Greta DeMayo and Jonathan McCaig will present to you what they've developed over the past several months with public input and a steering committee advisory. I hope you like it. Thank you.
Good evening. We're here tonight just to go over the Clayton County Greenway Trail Master Plan. I think
Excuse
everyone's
me.
been given a copy.
If you could, please, if you could state your name for the record.
I'm Greta DeMayo. I'm with Kaizen Collaborative. We've been working with the county for the past year to put together the Greenway Trail Master Plan. And so we were going to just go through and kind of do a brief summary of the master plan. The Path Foundation, Jonathan McCaig is here with the Path Foundation. It was a little over a year ago, formed a public-private partnership with Clayton County to be able to come to Clayton County and be able to assist with the Greenway Trail planning and construction and implementation. Out of this process, we put together a master plan that created a vision for the entire county. That master plan consists of about 112 miles of greenway trails. I'm going to go over the master plan just based on district. We all met at different points during this process with each commission district. And we decided within the master plan, the easiest way to put it together was to really feature each district as a piece of the master plan. So Commissioner Gregory in District 1, we looked at your district and we sat down and went over kind of the opportunities for connectivity with the Greenway Trails. And we went ahead and suggested an initial trail project. And so our next steps will be just to kind of keep the ball rolling. We've got a couple of options. We've also met with the Clayton State University area and with the Rex Trail. And then this is a little bit of a blow-up of what's proposed for the initial trail segment that connects over to the Rex Village from the Rex Park. Then District 2, Commissioner Hambrick, we met and we kind of looked at the District 2 opportunities for the Greenway Trail. And we have multiple opportunities. The neat part about the Trail Master Plan is it's a living document. We like to say it's a living document. You're not going to have it sitting on the shelf. You're going to have the Parks Department and the Green Space Division really moving this document forward. Right now, we've identified a couple of different opportunities within District 2. We've gotten some feedback recently from Commissioner Hambrick in regards to connections from Flat Shoals to Virginia Gray and then over to Frank Bailey. And so our initial trail segment is in that area, and we're about to get ready after the adoption of the master plan to get moving forward with that. And we can talk more in a minute. Okay, and then District 3, Commissioner Rooks, your district. We have to put it in 2 different slides. It's so long. So in the north part, we have an opportunity for a trail segment that we identified. The connectivity would be in this area. It would entail some of the Clayton County Water Authority property and go along the Flint River corridor and then connect down to the Mundy High School, Mundy Mills High School. And then in the southern part, District 3, recently too, there's been an opportunity that was shown to us for the Glen Eagle property and possibly having a trail segment around in those neighborhoods on the old golf course area. And that shows a little bit of what we did with our initial assessment when that was brought to our attention. So, and then District 4, Commissioner Edmondson's district, these are some of the opportunities that we found. And one of the initial trail segments is going to be around this area with the International Park and connectivity over to the Lake Spivey neighborhood. And that's a little bit of a graphic that shows what that's proposed to be. And so as we move forward with this, what we like to call a living document, we're going to continue looking for the opportunities that are out there to start implementation. And implementation is going to be presented to you in different ways. We're looking at implementation to acquire easements for the trail, implementation to be able to do the design work that's needed for the trail, and then also for the construction of the trail projects. So I'll open it up for questions.
Yes. In your implementation, I would like to see that trail from Flat Shoals Park, a proposed library, the Virginia Gray Rec Center on over to the Frank Bailey Senior Center. Now, I would like to see that in the first implementation.
Right. And, you know, within the master plan, because there's so many trails, the initial trail that we put into the master plan is what was just a suggestion. So I'm so glad that you have, you know, you want to massage that some. As we start implementation, we would definitely sit down with you and with each commission district and really make sure that we're still on track as we're taking that vision and moving forward with it.
Because
I think those are great destinations to be connected in.
And it's connectivity too.
Exactly.
Okay, now is that going to be before we pass this implementation, or?
Well, tonight the vote is going to be for the master plan document itself for the whole county system, and the county system does show that connectivity in your commission district, and so it is part of the document itself as a master plan. The implementation strategy within the master plan is what I just referred to, where we will meet and sit as we're moving forward with each stage to really work with you individually as we're moving forward with the starter trail projects.
But right now, I do have a problem with how you have it going to the elementary school. So some way we need to make a change on that.
Right, and we will, definitely, definitely. And, you know, just as an example, like in Commissioner Rook's district, you know, the opportunity at Glen Eagles will probably then make your initial trail segment maybe jump to be that opportunity.
You mean River's Edge?
River's Edge.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm like, we don't have, I'm like,
You know,
I
I think I wrote Glen Eagles on the graphic too. Exactly. Sorry. River's Edge. We went down and looked at that. So the initial trail segment that we had in your district, probably this one will jump priority before that one. And so there again, the master plan is a living document where we want to make sure that if we hit a hurdle with one thing, we can identify another opportunity, so that you're each having something with your district that's always moving forward towards implementation. Okay. So, in this being the very beginning stages of that. I'm glad to see your passion is you want to massage what we currently have as this initial trail segment, which is exactly what we want to have happen.
I have a question, and it probably is for Mr. Sanford. The recommendation for District 3 is to have the county acquire additional green space for protection of the Flint River and creation of a green space park.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we could factor that into their plan and our cost of that?
We can. So theoretically, what will happen is that we'll do a total assessment, even to Commissioner Hambrick's point. When we make the adjustmts, we'll look at where the money will take us. I know with some of the challenges with the 09 program with the collections. So we're going to have to prioritize where the dollars are allocated, and then from there, we'll look at what we can phase in based upon what seems to be the best practices and seem like we can get the most bang for our buck. Also, with Greta and with the Path Foundation, they're looking at ways in which we can match funds. So using the SPOS funds, we're looking at ways to use other grant funders to come in and provide us additional dollars on top of what we already have in SPOS.
Are we going to have any delays if we're not able to acquire the green space as you've suggested because of funding?
You know, I think that's, again, why I refer to it as a living document. We want to have we actually want each commission district to have a couple of options moving at the same time. So if funding becomes a hurdle on one, then we still have something else moving forward. So I think everyone here is very forward-thinking. You obviously see the benefits of this system as it's going to be implemented, and we all want to be able to have the implementation momentum get started and not end. So I would see, and what we have found is with countywide trail systems, there's always a moving piece. A good example is anytime you're dealing with a railroad, you just never know how long it's going to take to get what you need from them. But you might start that right now, and that one might not really finish for a while. So I think you're going to see moving pieces and then trying to figure out how to get the funding and get everything put together.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The board will now hear a presentation on the Clayton County Pension Plan revisions. This will be presented by Timothy Bowen with Buck Consultants, the pension plan's actuarial firm.
Thank you. My name is Tim Bowen, and I am an actuary, an enrolled actuary and a member of the American Academy of Actuaries. And I am qualified to issue statements of actuarial opinion. And I serve as the actuary for the Clayton County Public Employees Retirement System, which I'll refer to as the pension plan throughout this presentation. And as you know, there have been some proposed changes to the pension plan, which come in the form of increased contributions for members who are earning benefits under the plan, as well as increased contributions for county and the water authority, as well as some competitive benefit design changes for future members who are hired on or after January 1, 2016. And the pension board had asked me to come in tonight to speak about some of the financial challenges that face the pension plan and gave rise to some of these proposed changes. All right, so first, I want to start off by talking a little bit about the funded status of the plan. And despite the fact that the pension board put a lot of effort into monitoring the funded status of the pension plan, and in prior years, contributions to the pension plan met or exceeded minimum contribution requirements under Georgia state law, there still was a substantial unfunded actuarial accrued liability as of the last valuation date, which was July 1, 2014. Okay? And there were some factors that contributed to that unfunded liability, which I'm going to cover on the next slides that not only affected this pension plan, but affected pension plans across the country. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But on July 1, 2014, the unfunded liability in the pension plan was $154.6 million. And now that was measured using an actuarial value of assets, which recognizes investment gains and losses over a period of time. So if you just looked at the market value of assets, the the unfunded liability was smaller. It was $133.6 million, but it was still substantial. I also reported on July 114, or shortly thereafter, to the pension board that for the first time in history, county, water authority, and member contributions combined would not be sufficient to meet the minimum contribution requirements under Georgia state law. And I reported that an additional contribution above the currently scheduled contributions of 1.5% for the current year would be required to meet the minimum contribution requirements under Georgia state law. And that contribution is scheduled to be paid by the county and the water authority currently. Okay, so these are some of the factors that started the pension board down the path of looking at the pension plan from a holistic standpoint. There's also another important factor that I want to mention is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board issued a new accounting standard which will apply for the upcoming fiscal year. It's called GASB 68. And for the very first time, the county and the water authority will be required to put the unfunded liability on their balance sheet. Okay, and that applies to all pension plans across the country, and that can potentially impact bond ratings. Worse yet, and I won't go into the details, but the way the standard is written, plans that are better funded will be able to calculate that unfunded liability using the plan's assumed rate of return on investments. However, plans that are less funded, like this plan, will have to use a lower interest rate to calculate that unfunded liability. Long and the short of it means the financial statements of the county and the water authority will reflect an unfunded liability that is even larger than the one I showed on this page. So those are some of the things that gave rise to really taking a holistic look at the pension plan. The pension board also asked me to do some long-term forecasting, and I did 30-year forecasts for the pension plan. And those forecasts showed that absent changes, increased contributions, or changes somehow to the benefit designs, the plan would continue to have problems meeting the minimum contribution requirements under Georgia state law, and additional contributions would be needed. I also looked at the unfunded liability, and rather than paying this unfunded liability off over the next 30 years, projections showed that the unfunded liability would actually increase over the next 30 years, and increase rather dramatically. And I reported to the pension board, absent other changes to the system, or to the pension plan, a supplemental contribution of approximately 5% of payroll would be required, in addition to the contributions already scheduled, to pay that unfunded liability off, to reduce it to zero over the next 30 years. So that's a substantial contribution that would be required. Oops, went too far. Now I want to switch gears and talk about some of the factors that I mentioned before that impacted the funded status of the plan. There were a couple of primary factors that affected pension plans all across the country, not just this pension plan. And one was simply the economy, market volatility. If we go back to 2008, you might remember that there was an adjustment in the market that occurred in 2008 and 2009 timeframe. Now at 7/1/2008, when the actuarial valuation was done, we saw for the prior year that the return on the market value of assets was a negative 2.8%. Now that's compared to the long-term assumed rate of return of 8%. So we were 10.8% off of that benchmark, so to speak, and that created an actuarial loss of about $28.5 million on that date. It also reduced the funding ratio from 75% to 69%, measured against the plan's market value of assets. So not looking at that actuarial value that smooths investment gains and losses, but going right to the market value. In the following year, a negative 11.6% return occurred, which led to another $52.1 million increase in the unfunded actuarial accrued liability and reduced the funded percentage of the plan to 60%. All right? So these were pretty big events. Now, when you have investment losses, the things you have to keep in mind is that there's a compounding effect that occurs because the size of the fund decreased and future returns compound on that fund. So there's the compounding effect that happens to that loss, and it takes good times, much larger returns than you might think to recover from those losses. Post-2009, the investment return has averaged 13.3%. That compares to the 8% assumed return. That's very good. However, the losses that occurred in 2008 and 2009 are still not recovered. Those gains were not large enough to recover those losses. In fact, not by a broad margin. Okay. There was another factor that I want to discuss that has affected, oops, went too far again, that is affecting pension plans across the country, and that is simply increases in life expectancy. So the Society of Actuaries produces actuarial tables that talk about mortality and tell actuaries how to value mortality. And they had done a study, and tables came out in 2000, and everybody's been using those tables. And they refreshed the study, and a new study came out in 2014, October of 2014, and it showed that life expectancy is increasing at a rate much larger than was ever anticipated. Okay? Now, because these benefits are paid out for the lifetime of participants, those benefits will be paid for a longer period of time. It takes more money to fund them. Switching to actuarial tables that reflect these new expectations for mortality increase the unfunded liability by another $15 million. And this is affecting pension plans across the country that pay benefits for lifetime employees. Probably also affects healthcare costs, insurance, all kinds of things. But there's been a large effect on the pension plans. So those are the two major factors that have contributed to the position that the plan is in today. So I want to talk, last slide, very briefly about the impact of the proposed changes. First of all, the pension board wanted to maintain a defined benefit pension plan for all employees because the pension board recognized the importance of lifetime income and has witnessed what has happened in the private sector as that lifetime income has been taken away and as they've gone to defined contribution plans. So the proposed changes do maintain a defined benefit plan. They increase the county, the water authority, and the member contributions permanently to help pay down some of these unfunded liabilities and make the system sustainable. For current members of the pension plan, benefits are unchanged. So the actual benefits they'll receive are unchanged. But for future members hired on or after January 2016, a new benefit structure will apply, which is designed to be competitive and still maintain the viability of the plan in the long term. Okay? And how will that affect the funding of the pension plan? We really can't, as actuaries, predict market adjustments like we had in 2008 and 2009, or the effect of 9/11, or big swings in the market that can occur. But assuming that the plan can achieve over the long term its 8% assumed investment rate of return, the contributions, this new level of contributions combined with this new plan design, will mean that the plan will be able to meet minimum required contributions under Georgia state law into the unforeseeable future and actually exceed those contributions and reduce the unfunded actual accrued liability to zero. So that there is no unfunded accrued liability after 30 years. Take 30 years, but we'll get that reduced to zero and the plan will be 100% funded and the system defined benefits will be maintained in the long term. And I think I'm about out of time, so I'll open it up to questions. Yes?
Could you elaborate on the second-tier benefits for those future members after January 16?
Yes, I can. Okay, so the members hired after January 2016 will have a multiplier that is reduced from the 2.5% that it is today down to 2%. Okay, so their benefit will be 2% times service times their final average earnings. The final average earnings will be based upon the highest 5 years rather than the highest 3 years now. Okay, contributions are increased for all members to 7.5%, and there are some adjustments to the retirement ages. And I'm sorry, I don't have all the details of that in my head, but the retirement ages, particularly for non-public safety members, retirement is going to be a little later than it is today.
Like from 60 to 65 or what?
Let's see here. Normal retirement has increased from 60 with 7 years of service to 62 with 10 years of service. And then there were some changes in the early retirement as well.
I have some questions.
Commissioner Rooks?
Oh, yeah, and I'm sorry, I missed the vesting. Thank you, Ramona. I missed the vesting period. Vesting has increased from a 7-year period to a 10-year period.
Employees vest after 10 and not 7?
Correct.
That's a part of this plan? That's
As a-
prior?
New plans.
Employees hired on or after January 1, 2016.
Right now, it takes 7
Won't
days to
affect
be
any
vested.
current employees at all.
No, current employee benefits are unaffected. The contributions are increased to 7.5, but the benefits are unaffected.
Okay. This is not my area of expertise, so bear with me.
No
We
problem.
had 2 employees who made comments. Were you here when they made those comments?
I was, yep.
Can you give me your position on their particular statements?
Well, I feel it because I understand the position that they're in, and they feel like they've been contributing a lot of money to the pension plan, and the benefits are being paid far off into the future. But I also understand what's happened across the nation with respect to defined benefit pension plans. And if you go to the private sector, what's happened is they've disappeared because they're not affordable, and corporations won't pay for them anymore. And so we've gone to a defined contribution environment. And so I think the pension board is in kind of a tough position because, you know, they really do not want to increase contributions and they don't want to change the benefit structure, but they also want to preserve the defined benefit plan in the long term. And so they kind of had to look at those competing things, and I think they did the best they could to balance that.
What's the impact of switching from a pension to a defined contribution plan?
What happens when you switch from a pension to a defined contribution plan is the pension plan offers benefits for the lifetime of an employee. Okay, they're guaranteed. And because everybody's pooled together, there's some sharing. I mean, I hate to say it this way, but to the extent some people don't live as long and some people live a really long time, there's a balancing effect that happens there. So it's a very efficient way to fund a pension plan. In a defined contribution plan, everybody has their own investments. And they're really making their own investment decisions, and they're contributing their own plan. And then when they retire, they have a pot of money which they have to manage and manage for their lifetime. And they take on the risk, too, in a defined contribution plan where, you know, poor investment returns lowers that pot of money. High investment returns increases that pot of money that's payable to them at retirement. Where in the defined benefit plan, the pension benefits are guaranteed for the lifetime based upon the formula. And investment gains and losses have to be made up for some other way. Increased contributions, county water authority, and then, of course, the members' contributions as well. Does that answer it?
Somewhat. Hypothetically speaking, if we were to move from a pension to a defined contribution plan, would that be for the new employees starting January 1st, 2016?
I would assume that that would be the case.
We've already got a defined contribution plan.
In addition to a pension?
Employees can contribute to.
Yep.
Yes. As an option, yes.
Right, but I mean solely, that was your position. That was your statement earlier. There are a number of entities moving from a pension to a defined contribution.
Yeah, those entities have just really kind of gotten rid of the defined benefit plan, frozen the accruals in it, and now the employees' only earnings are in a defined contribution environment.
Right.
Yep.
Per your statement, I'm asking you the impact to the employees if that were to occur.
Well, the impact to the employees historically up until now has been very poor because, as you can see, these market times impact those account balances as well as they impact the balances of pension plans like this. And so now you have people that earned, you know, a pot of money over their lifetime and saved and invested, and people aren't as good as investment advisors as the pension plan can hire, right? And so many of these people lost a lot of their retirement earnings. Some are not retiring. We've actually seen that the baby boomers have delayed their retirement because they had retirements that were based upon defined contribution plans. They simply don't have enough money to retire now. So that's what happens when you transfer the risk to employees. And that's what we've seen happen historically.
Okay, there was a gentleman, Nick, I think was his first name. He said something about he's got to work to earn 37.5% to earn 37%, something like that. Do you remember that?
I do. I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what he was referring to was the service cap that exists in the pension plan, because the pension plan, once you hit 32 years of service, you no longer earn additional service that applies to the pension plan formula. Okay, so it caps your pension benefit at a certain percentage of your final average pay. Okay, and so what he's saying is because public safety members tend to start their career very early, that they're not old enough yet to retire when their pension plan service is capped. Okay, so I think that that's the issue that he's referring to. And that certainly is an issue. That's the way the pension plan works. But what the pension plan was designed to do was to provide a certain percentage of final average earnings when a person retired. And so that service cap kind of preserves that percentage of final average earnings after you've reached that 32 years. Okay, and so that's kind of how that was designed to work. But it is true that he's continuing to contribute to the pension fund, and his benefits are not increasing due to his additional service. It's absolutely true.
Another way to look at that would be to say I paid into Social Security my whole life and I want to start it at 50, not at 62. And it's not fair, and I'm being penalized because I got to wait to be old enough.
Yeah.
A person could go work somewhere else or go fishing or do something else. It's not a penalty. They just have to wait until normal age of retirement, which for public safety is 55 in Clayton County.
Yeah, with that much service it is, yes. And so, you know, this issue of penalties is kind of interesting because if a person could receive their benefits at 50, you got to understand they're going to be paid for 10 years longer than somebody that receives them at 60. And there's a cost associated with that. Okay, so waiting to receive your benefit, in other words, there's a real impact if you start receiving early, okay? There's also a cost for benefit accruals to continue beyond the 32 years. So these are all the factors that have to be weighed.
Could I ask a question as a different perspective on one of Ms. Rook's? She asked you what would be the impact to employees if the county went from a pension to a defined contribution plan, and you gave a good answer, but just to summarize that, am I right to say that if that were to happen, for example, if the second tier benefits hired after January 16th, those future members, if the plan was terminated in, let's say, with that effective date, then all future employees after that effective date would not participate in the pension, but all current employees that do would remain unchanged.
Correct.
So it wouldn't affect our employees at all.
It wouldn't affect the current employees. It would just be
Right.
the future
It's those
employees,
employees after
after
20.
that point in time.
Like those 18-year-old firemen that live paycheck to paycheck and don't care about 25 years down the road that he mentioned.
Yep. Now, and what would happen to the funding of the plan under that case is you still would have an unfunded liability. Remember, that's not going to go away. Okay, you got the 154.6 or 133.6 million unfunded liability is July 1, 2014. That unfunded liability is for the current members in the plan, and it needs to be reduced. That's going to have to be paid off so the plan will have enough money to pay those benefits out in the long run. So that change won't eliminate that unfunded liability from a funded status standpoint. But what would happen is the cost of future benefit earnings in this pension plan would go down over time as people retired and new members came on.
And this is the best proposal that y'all had. There's no other alternatives.
Based on what the pension board asked for.
This is what the pension board asked for, but I can tell you they looked at many things. Okay, so we had I had a substantial number of meetings with them where they asked me to look at many different design structures and options, and we went through many iterations. But yes, this is what they asked for.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay, as it stands now, how will this affect the present employees? Because I keep hearing about a 2% increase and all in the.
Yes. Okay. So let me clarify. So current members, ignoring future members now, the current members of the pension plan, the pension benefits that they will receive when they retire are unchanged. However, their contribution to the pension plan will go from 5.5% of their pay to 7.5% of their pay. It's a permanent increase.
Effective.
What was the
What's the
effective
proposed
date? July 1
of 2016?
this year. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Is that the only
Option.
change, right, or only change right now for the present employees?
It's the only change for the current members is the increase in their contribution level. That is
Okay,
correct.
and is there another option?
I'm sure there are a variety of options, yes, that different ways to structure things. Like I said, the different plan designs for future benefit accruals, a gentleman earlier talked about future COLAs, and these are some of the things that the pension board's considered, okay? So.
Stebbins.
Thank you. If this board voted not to adopt these recommendations before us of the pension board, the next step would be for the pension board to come up with an alternative set of recommendations to bring back before us. Is that correct?
Yeah, that seems correct to me. Because ultimately, there's a funding issue that has to be addressed, and the plan is not going to meet minimum contribution requirements under Georgia state law without some kinds of changes, so.
You work with other municipalities?
I do.
Okay. Are we utilizing the similar formulas that other municipalities that you work with are utilizing?
Yes, and I did not do the competitive analysis of the new benefit design. But what I can say is the new benefit design that applies for new members going forward, of July 1, 2016 and forward, seems to be very competitive and in line with what I see in other municipalities. The current member system is perhaps a notch above some of the benefit levels I see, not so much for public safety, but for general members. However, I got to weigh that against the contributions that go into the plan because the member contributions are also up. So it seems like that weighs out and puts them pretty well in line with things that I see. So I think to answer your question, the new plan going forward is a good adjustment because it's similar to other adjustments that other municipalities have made. for future members. And it feels to me like, given the benefit levels of the current membership, the contributions are in line with what I see.
What about other counties or even with the state? I noticed you say municipalities. What about
Yeah.
other counties?
The pension board looked at competing counties and things like that when they did that competitive analysis, and looked at the benefits of different counties and things in the area. So yeah, they considered counties for sure.
How is this different from the state?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not terribly familiar with the state retirement system. I don't do work for it, so I can't answer the question. I have to go back and look.
Well, the more and more I hear this, the more and more I appreciate the state now, you know.
Yeah.
This is.
May I ask, and I understand there's state guidelines and regulations we have to meet. I know it's being presented today.
Yes.
It would start July 1. So in terms of being time sensitive, is there any reason that we had to move today as opposed to maybe looking at one or two other options prior to taking a final vote on this?
From an actuarial standpoint and a standpoint of funding the plan, it is not necessary to act today. I can't speak to whether or not there are some other reasons that the pension board or the county or the water authority might have for moving quickly, because there might be budgeting concerns and things like that. But from a statutory standpoint, the current contributions, the 7114 to 63015 contributions, were projected to be insufficient. They wouldn't meet Georgia standards, and the pension board corrected that through an additional 1.5% contribution that's being paid by the county and the water authority. So we really had that. You will meet actuarial standards, and you will meet the state law for this fiscal year. So when we do the valuation at 7115, we'll be in the same position where we're going to have to look at 7115 to 63016 and figure out where additional money is going to come from to meet Georgia standards. So that's kind of the time frame you have to work in.
Ms. Bivens, is there any reason that you may know of?
No, just as long as I have a number to include in the budget before we adopt the budget, because there will be an impact to the county on the county's contributions.
Do you have options that you can bring back to our pension board?
Or to give us in advance?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's various options that we can look at for alternative designs and different changes.
Okay. What if you do that?
Long and the short of it, though, is this. Whatever you do, let me just explain this really quick. I mean, if you think about a pension plan, let me just step back to basics. You have contributions that go into a fund, and you have investment earnings on those contributions. Those two things together have to pay for the benefits and expenses. Mm-hmm. All right? So now what we saw in 2008 and 2009, and there was some of this that happened after 9/11, 2001, the investment earnings came down. We had a hit. Contributions, benefits, and expenses didn't change. So to make this thing balance, one of two things or a combination of two things have to happen. Contributions have to go up, benefits have to come down, or a mixture of both, right? That's the only way to make it balance. So all the options that I can bring in, there's really an infinite number of options and designs and different things you could do. They're all going to involve increases in contributions and or decreases in benefits in one way or the other. It's the only way to make it balance in the long run.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I have one. I know you were asked to look at various scenarios. Maybe you have the answer to this question on the tip of your tongue. If future hires' benefits were brought to zero after a point in time like January of 16, what would be the contribution required to pay this off in 30 years? It would drop from 2, would it drop to 0 or to 1, or what would that number be?
It most certainly would not drop to 0, and I don't know what the number would be, but you have to remember there's still $133.6 million in underfunding for current members, and that has to get paid off, and current contributions aren't sufficient to pay it off, even with the changes to new members. So there would be some increase in contributions. I wished I had that number, and I don't. I can calculate it, but I don't have it handy.
Would it be fair to say there'd be less than what's proposed tonight?
It probably would be, yes.
Okay, thank you.
How close are we? I mean, if this 2% increase or whatever were to take place, how close are we to bringing everything back to where it should be, or
30 years.
with the contributions and
Yeah,
everything.
well, you know, what we're gonna do is balance the equation, so we've got enough money coming in over the long run to pay that unfunded liability down to zero. But with 133.6 million in unfunded, we can't do that overnight. And this level of benefits is designed to bring it to zero over a 30-year period. Okay? Now, a 30-year period sounds like a long time, but that's actually a period that's very common in the actual industry to pay off unfunded liabilities.
But anything could happen in 30 years, right? I
Yeah,
mean, there are
but-
other factors that you've relayed to us
Right.
that are causing this to go up that could happen within the 30-year period.
You certainly can have those kinds of things happen again. They
Okay.
did, and they can happen in the future.
You're right. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other
You're welcome.
questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, before we go into the agenda, on March 21st, the MARTA buses will be rolling through the streets of Clayton County. And I see our MARTA friends are here. CEO Keith Parker and Chief Wanda Dunham is here with us. I'm going to ask you to come up and bring us some greetings.
Good evening.
I'm Keith Parker, the General Manager and CEO of MARTA. With me is Edward Johnson, our Chief Administrative Officer, and Chief Wanda Dunham. So we can do a variety of things. We can just answer questions. We can give you a brief presentation about what's going to happen on Saturday, or whatever your pleasure may be.
So what's happening Saturday?
Let me have Edward start that off. He's in charge of the group of planners who put together the plan that we'll be implementing on Saturday.
Good evening. Again, my name is Edward Johnson. I serve as the Chief Administrative Officer with MARTA. Oh, I'm sorry. Good evening. Again, my name is Edward Johnson. I serve as the Chief Administrative Officer with MARTA. And on Saturday, we will roll out 3 new routes within the Clayton County area. One route, the 196, which will start at the South Lake Mall. It will traverse up through the county and will terminate at the College Park Rail Station in College Park, Georgia. The second route, Route 15, which will start at the Forest Parkway in Jonesboro Road, it will traverse through Clayton County, and it will terminate in the city of downtown of Atlanta at the 5 Point Station. And then lastly, the Route 55. That route will start near the Ellenwood Industrial Center, and that will continue all the way up to the Decatur Station in DeKalb County. What we will do to ensure that we have a very, very successful implementation, we plan on deploying additional resources because we do anticipate heavy loads for the first week of services. So we will deploy additional buses as well as manpower to help with that demand if it exceeds our capacity. Additionally, we will place out staff at certain key locations to assist.
So they can look.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, these are the 3 routes that I just talked about. Again, the 196 is the green route that's on to your left. The Route 15 is the route right in the middle, and then the Route 55 is to your right, going from Ellenwood on up into the Decatur Station. And again, we will strategically place staff at certain locations, certainly at the South Lake Mall, also in a couple other areas along the 2 other routes to assist new passengers who've never ridden the service before. So we want to be able to take some of that angst out of the system as new passengers come into the fold of MARTA.
What time will the buses start? What time will they end in the afternoons? And what's the interval?
Typically, our services run from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. the following morning. The services will start a little early, about 5:54, but generally what we say about 6 a.m. The services will start. The frequency on each of those routes, the 196, that one is on a 30-minute frequency. The Route 15 in the middle is that one is on a 20-minute frequency, and then the one to the extreme right is that will operate on a 30-minute frequency as well.
Have you guys ironed out the issues with the city of Morrow so that the South Lake Mall won't be an issue?
Yes, ma'am. That has been resolved.
I mentioned to our Clayton County Board
MARTA board member Jerry Griffin on Saturday. My concerns about that bus going down Boulder Crest. My husband and I were riding down Boulder Crest the other day, and I'm like, this car can barely go down Boulder Crest. And I did get a couple of calls this afternoon. And not only that, and I know we can't, the width of the road, but not only that, but I see Warden Hosey here. I look at where the people are going to have to stand on Boulder Crest. And once the summer starts and the grass is growing so high, that's that Ellenwood area, that's as close as the country as you can get in Clayton County. And so I have some real concerns, as we move forward. And I did express those to Mr. Griffin on Saturday, that I see some challenges just coming down that Boulder Crest toward the Ample Block Road area.
Well, I think it was more of a statement.
You're right.
It is just some FYI, keep it on your, on your.
And one of the realities we recognize is this is a dynamic process, so we will get started and see how this works out. We have an opportunity to course correct in August. That's when we'll have the next chance to make some adjustments to the routes. So if we find it's not working, to make an adjustment, we will.
Would you also, okay, let's say if the ridership, and I don't know, I mean, when we had the old C-Tran, that system didn't go out that far. If you see that you're not having the ridership in certain areas, I'm sure you'll be making changes or whatever.
We'll adjust as reasonable, because what we don't want to do is change it too quickly as well, because it does take a bit of time with new routes to build up ridership. With 3 new routes, we probably won't have that problem. But when we add new services that are truly brand new to the county, that's where we may have a bit of time to build up the ridership, get the word out, and that sort of thing.
When is your next phase after these 3? What's the next phase?
August.
August.
And then in December.
For,
so we'll be adding service in a couple more times this year.
Okay.
But so far, things are going very, very well. We've purchased literally millions of dollars of new equipment to be used in the county. We think we've installed now about 130 temporary bus stops, and we will put permanent things in place as we get more settled in terms of exactly what we'll be doing. We've hired dozens of new people from Clayton who will be working, some here and some elsewhere throughout the MARTA system. I don't think there's a person in the county who doesn't know we're coming on Saturday, so we really saturated getting the word out. The route scheduling, that sort of thing is on our website. We'll be handing out printed materials. They're already in our College Park station, the Decatur station, and we will be bringing them some in the government center, so we'll be bringing printed materials here, Clayton State University, the libraries, and a number of other places as well. So we're just going to try to get this right, but we're moving very quickly, and know there'll be a hiccup or two, but overall, we think we're in a pretty good place.
Have you guys been advertising MARTA's app? Don't you have an app that you need people to download?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Each time we go out and talk to the public, every communication that we send out, we always talk about the On-the-Go app, and we ask people to download that for your Apple product as well as your Android product.
Okay.
Mr. Parker. Okay. I'm not sure how long you all will be here at the meeting, but we have on our agenda an MOU. And I have a problem because I think our police have a problem. So, can somebody address that now before we get into it, or before you all leave?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed there was one change because we have a new copy of it. That was the change, and then last meeting I had some questions, and I think our police were a little bit in limbo, I think, in my opinion.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Wanda Dunham, Chief of MARTA Police, and if you would indulge me, I want to convey my deepest condolences to the men and women of the Clayton County Police Department on the loss of their officer 48 hours ago. And so it's heartfelt from me and from our officers. So we just want to say that as the Chief of Police, we want to convey that. So to answer your question, yes, ma'am, we are the MOU that we had asked since September to be signed by the chief and for the commission to look at. It is basically a document for law enforcement, it's between law enforcement agencies. It's a standard document. It's not a legal document, but it's a standard document that basically spells out roles and responsibilities of law enforcement agencies. It's more of a CALEA accreditation process. We are CALEA certified or accredited, so is Clayton County. And so basically, it says that we should have clear roles and responsibilities when you're dealing with other law enforcement agencies. And so it really just talks about who's going to do what. If a call is on MARTA, then we're going to take it. If a call is on this county, then Clayton County is going to handle it.
What do you mean a call on the county?
So basically, if there is someone that is fighting on the bus, the MARTA police will handle that. If it's a person that have a wreck on Clayton County, then Clayton County will handle that. So it's basically no more than just, if it happens on Clayton, then Clayton County officers will be responsible. If it happens on MARTA, then we will be responsible. MARTA, by the MARTA Act, we have concurrent jurisdiction with Clayton County. So that means that we have all the rights and responsibilities just like Clayton County. But MARTA pays us, so we take care of the MARTA system. The MARTA Act, anything that MARTA owns is what we police, which means buses, trains, and facilities. That's what we police. And so then we work concurrently with other jurisdictions to make sure that, if there's a situation and we need each other's help, it's kind of a gentleman's or ladies' agreement that we will help each other out. Okay. It really is just kind of a handshake, but what it does is help the boots on the ground officers so that when they get out there, they'll know exactly what to do. That's it.
Is this the same?
Clear?
I'm sorry.
And I was just wondering, with our police, are we all clear?
I hope so. I think I've
Let me
spoken
ask
to-
you, Chief Dunham, is this the same MOU that you have with the city of Atlanta?
Oh, yes, we have.
Same one you have with DeKalb County and Fulton County as well, correct?
Yes.
So it's a standard MOU
Correct.
that outlines duties and responsibilities.
Yes, this is very standard. And just for the record, I think we have one with 8 of the jurisdictions currently in Clayton. We just got them signed after your meeting. And we had everybody signed them, Riverdale, Jonesboro, everybody.
7.
Everybody, except for Clayton State. They had to send it to the Board of Regents, but everybody else. So it's a real, standard document. But I do want to, if you would indulge me, I know the question of security always comes up, and so I want to introduce the officers that we have selected to work in Clayton County, and they're here with me tonight, and I would ask them to stand
Well,
up.
hold on just a minute, please, because I'm still on this
Oh,
thing
okay.
about, are we okay?
Oh,
If
okay.
Clayton County Police
Here we go. Okay.
are okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. We had some challenges with the inoperability piece, and I think we should be able to work those out between now and Saturday. If not, I'll let the board know, but
We
otherwise.
too late.
Technical stuff, my technicians in 911 and the IT department, along with CO, we've been talking, had countless meetings about it, met with Marta the other day, so we're still trying to work those things out. Again, this couple of challenges in that area. Otherwise, everything is okay.
So the 2 chiefs are gonna work it out.
Oh, we're here.
That would be the expectation, but at the same time, I think the issue was just that interoperability part that both agencies needed to talk, be able
Okay.
to talk on the radio. And I think that's been resolved, so I think we're well on our way with what needs to be done.
Is it resolved, Chief?
Well, we're working on it, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Chief.
Could I introduce the officers that are assigned to Clayton County? Would you please stand? Thank you.
And they're not just wearing that for St. Patrick's Day. They all dressed in that nice lime green.
Are there any
Are
other?
they on bicycles?
No,
Oh.
it's not visibility. We want to make sure that there could be seen.
All right.
A few years ago, people, I guess last year, maybe? Last year, people were saying, we don't see enough police, we don't see enough police. So Mr. Parker brought it to my attention, and so I went to the uniform store, and I said, give me the loudest color that you have.
Okay.
And I think I was successful.
You were.
And so you can see them after that, even our legislatures from the MARTOC committee, they say, you have so many more police, chief. And I was like, yes, we have. We hadn't added anybody. But it
Right.
sounds
It
really
just looks good,
And
yeah.
we do have high visibility officers now. And so you will see that uniform, so you can't miss us in Clayton County.
I heard that. Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
for-
yeah, hold on, y'all, don't leave. No. I know you said phase 2 is in August and so forth. Any particular area you're looking at? I know that's long-term. I know, Mr. Planner, any areas in particular?
This will be our August services. As you can see, we have a crosstown route that'll go back up into the College Park Station. And then we'll also run a route from the Justice Center, and that will terminate at the East Point Station in downtown Atlanta. And you will notice a shaded area to the bottom of the map down in the Lovejoy area. That area is there where we're looking to place what we call flex services. This is where we use a smaller vehicle that we're able to navigate through some of the smaller neighborhoods where larger buses cannot operate. The service will operate on a fixed route alignment, but it will deviate off the route to pick up people who may not live adjacent to that alignment. So those are the next 3 routes, and as well as the flex bus that we will put in August.
What's the possibility, and I apologize for asking this in open but Highway 42, we need service coming out Highway 42. That's what now? Okay, that's December.
Right. And you see that we'll also add some more.
Can't y'all switch one of them out and put that in August?
Sure.
We need that in August. We need it in August.
But one of the things that we do before we roll out the new services, we always have a public hearing to get public input. We share with them the vision that we have, and then we receive feedback from the community to help us with determining what services and how we're going to roll them out.
I do want to have conversation about the flex line of Lovejoy, however.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll do it offline, because I know you said it could deviate. I want to know what you mean by that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other questions?
I think that's it. Thank you all so much.
Thank y'all for being here. I know you have a busy schedule, so I appreciate your time. And ladies and gentlemen in the back that will be defending the lines, we expect nothing but the best. So I appreciate you being here.
Mr. Chairman, the board will now consider requests of Deborah Brewer, Director of Central Services.
Ms. Brewer, take all your items at once unless a board member wants to separate one.
I have
Here.
a lot of questions, but I always do.
Okay,
Take
thank
'em-
you.
take
Good
'em all.
evening. We have 5 annual renewal of contracts related to invitations to bid. Pursuant to Section 2136(1) and 6 of the Clayton County Code of Ordinances, RFB 1308 is Clayton County Pest Control Services for various locations with Clemtech Pest Control and Termite Incorporated Technologies, LLC, and located in Atlanta, Georgia. RFB 1312, Clayton County EMS Medication Supplies, annual contract with Wilson Pharmacy Incorporated, located in Forest Park, Georgia. RFB 1376, Land Boundary and Topography Surveys for various Clayton County projects with Falcon Design Consultants, LLC, located in Stockbridge, Georgia. RFB 1414, Clayton County Transportation and Development Guardrails with Martin Robbins Fence Company Incorporated, located in Snellville, Georgia. Contract number 2014I, Bread Products for Clayton County Prison, utilizing statewide contract with Earth Grains Baking Companies, LLC, located in Horsham, Pennsylvania. We also have a recommendation for renewal based on an RFP 1230, Clayton County Brokerage Services for Voluntary Employees with Alexander and Company, located in Woodstock, Georgia.
Mr. Chairman, can we take that one separately, please?
And also a recommendation to amend RFP Package 1351 with a widening and overlay of Norman Drive from State Route 314 West Fayetteville Road to State Route 139 in Riverdale Road with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company. It's to increase the contract time by 380 days and to add $245,535.67 for increased asphalt and for additional traffic and erosion control services.
Okay. I am,
And,
oh,
finish?
you're not finished, okay.
The department and viewer renewal acceptances and amendments to agreements for the above referenced projects have been attached for your information and review. The request is for you to approve the recommendations, authorize the chairman or his designee to execute all necessary documents to accomplish the intent of the contracts, and authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget accordingly.
Okay, is there a motion for all of the items with the exception of item 2A, RFP 12-30? We'll take that one separately. Is there a motion for the others?
So move.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Any questions?
Yes. Just in general, when reading the agenda, as I would if I were, a constituent sitting out there, there are some different terminology that I've been here two years, 3 months, but I still need to feel like I understand this. Using number 1, for example, Clayton County Board of Commissioners has the final award approval for all non-budgeted bids, $35,000 and greater. Right?
Yes.
So if it's less than $35,000, then what happens?
If it's approved budgetary,
Let's say it's not budgeted.
then it's brought back before the board.
Okay, so if it is budgeted and it's less than $35,000,
It's not brought back
okay.
before the board.
How many contracts do we do that are less than $35,000 that are not brought to the commission for us to know who gets those contracts?
You mean for initially?
Period. So if I look at a line, if I take the budget, I know what has been budgeted for that department. How do I know who is actually getting the funding? Who's getting the contracts?
If it's less than 35.
If it's less than $35,000.
Can the department head enter into a contract if it's less than
No, but we do
35,000?
have a list that is available, and that is updated and
Okay.
public document that we could provide to you to
Right.
let you know
Right.
which contracts are being awarded.
But how many contracts do we do that are less than $35,000 that we don't ever get to see?
Probably 10%. Very few.
We don't enter into any agreement or contract unless we bring it to you guys, because you have to approve all contracts.
But it says, is this a term of art? Do we just use $35,000 as an arbitrary number that we don't adhere to? Or do you contract for things that are $29,000 that we don't know about?
There are some things that when we do 3 quotes,
Yes.
and it may be for
I think what she's
$800
getting
that we're
to
not
is contracts. All contracts have to be approved by
Yes.
the board. If an item such as, let's say, some equipment or a car is less than 35, then that department can purchase it through
Yes.
central services.
But if
Unless
it
it's
has
not
an
budgeted.
agreement,
Unless it's not
It
budgeted.
has to come before the board for their approval. It has to be spread across the minutes.
Should we, okay, so should we be using that particular verbiage? I know.
The code is not exactly clear on what's an approved budgetary item.
Okay. I'm not trying to put you on a spot. It's just that as I read this along, I section off 3 categories. You have competitive bid that's less than $25,000. What if it's $25,000 to $34,999? Does it come to us? I just want to ensure that,
If there's an agreement attached to it, then we do bring it back. If there's an outright purchase that does not require an agreement that has to be signed, then we don't necessarily bring those back.
okay, so if there's nothing that needs to be signed,
Just a purchase order, we don't.
okay, so a purchase order. Have we have purchase orders that are less than $35,000?
Yes.
And we would never see those.
Yes, you would see those over 25,000, we bring those.
So $24,999, would we see those?
Not necessarily.
Okay. How many purchase orders do we do for that amount?
About 10%.
Just 10%?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, can you get those?
More than that, I think it's about, I don't think
Has to
so.
be because, I mean, that's our daily.
All right, okay.
Now,
Are you just
mean
able to get
at
that?
the 24,000, you don't mean the $500 and the $1,200. Which range are you?
I am wondering how many contracts, how much money does the county spend that the commissioners don't get to see?
I can get you a report on that. I don't have that
That's
information
what I need.
available, but I can get that report.
That's
But
the
we
question.
do keep a running report also of all purchases and all contracts, and that is made available.
That's
at
what I
all
want to
times.
know. Okay, which one were we holding?
12:30.
12:30.
Not holding, just.
Right.
Separately.
Item 2A.
Okay, 1351, the widening. Did we talk? No?
We didn't take that.
Okay, I have a question about that. This is to increase, and from the last time we talked about Silverman and the extension of their contract and getting paid more. Why is there an additional year to finish this project?
The information that we received from the user department and the contractor is because there was deterioration
Right.
in the roadway that required additional asphalt. Also because there were delays in the utilities schedules, because we cannot control the time which Georgia Power or Atlanta Gas Light may come out to provide the utilities.
Right, I read
It required
that.
additional traffic control and erosion control. And again, there was increased deterioration to the road.
Yeah, I
guess-
can
So-
answer that one because that's Norman Drive right in front of the high
Right,
school.
but
The
when
road
we're,
is bad.
when we have people who do bids and, just looking at just the numbers, I would imagine we select the person, correct me if I'm wrong, who has bidded, has submitted the lowest bid.
Yes.
So when you start tacking on all of the
Responsive and
lowest
responsible
responsive bid, so when you start tacking on all of these amendments, do they not start to exceed the next person or next entity that we decline because they were not the lowest responsive bidder?
Well, if the increase is cost of a changed condition or uncontrollable circumstance, that would have increased for the second low bidder also.
Okay. Well, it depends on what they put in their bid package or what they considered. Do we not, and I know you weren't here, Ms. Brewer, so,
And the police department may want to
right.
adjust this particular situation.
So when they go out to evaluate for instance, how do we know about the asphalt? Do they not evaluate whether or not we can reuse concrete asphalt in the production of the constructed roadway or sidewalk?
For the asphalt, it's handled through the design phase. And several of these projects, they take several years to come to fruition. And an estimate is made at the design phase, but through right-of-way acquisition, what normally takes a couple of years, you're predicting what the deterioration rate would be for that asphalt. In this situation, it's deteriorated a lot quicker than what was anticipated.
Okay.
So to go out there and do what was originally perceived that was needed would be kind of foolish at this point, short-lived, a waste of money.
Because of the time it takes to acquire the right-of-ways, right?
More significant deterioration has caused a different type of approach to remediate the asphalt and then to finally construct the final product for the pavement side of things.
Okay, and how many times has this particular one been amended?
I believe one other time because we had a retaining wall issue we had to address.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Take 12-30. Is there a motion?
12-30.
Item 2A, RFP 12-30. Clayton County Brokerage Services for voluntary employee benefits. We're taking that one separately, so is there a motion on this? Is there a motion? It dies due to lack of a motion. Thank you.
The board will now consider the request of Ramona Bivens, Chief Financial Officer.
Please take them together.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. The first item is Budget Amendment 2-20 for building and maintenance, and it is to provide additional funds in the amount of $35,000 for asbestos testing and removal. Budget Amendment 2-21 is for Federal Narcotics Condemnation Fund. This is to establish a budget in the amount of $40,921 from seized drug funds to purchase a vehicle for the Sheriff's Office. Budget Amendment 4-106 is for 2009 SPLOST to amend the budget in the amount of $578,360 to provide funding for project engineering services. The annual contract with Moreland Altobelli Associates Incorporated was approved by the Board of Commissioners at the December 16th, 2014 business meeting. The last item is a request for a refund in the amount of $500 made payable to Richard Peden, U.S. General Construction Incorporated, for the purpose of releasing a demolition bond posted to clean up the lot at the property located at 7882 Tara Boulevard, Jonesboro, Georgia.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Are there any questions on any of the items?
A question or two. They're easy questions. On item 2-20, the first one, the $35,000 for asbestos testing, do you know the location, or does anybody know the location of that?
Hold on, let me see if it's
Condemned
attached.
houses?
I don't know.
It says 10 condemned houses. Second
What
sheet.
does it say, 10 condemned houses?
Second sheet, to provide funds for the testing and potential removal of houses condemned and transferred to the county. And it says,
Okay,
10
I see that,
houses.
thank you.
Mhm.
My reading glasses aren't that strong. The second question is on 222, just Ms. Thurman, Ms. Bivens, help me understand, to amend in excess revenue for the fees associated with school bus traffic violations?
I'm sorry, I actually skipped that one. 2-22 is for other general government. I'm sorry, I skipped that one. Yes, that is to amend in excess revenue for $237,779 to provide for fees associated with school bus traffic violations and govdeals.com. As you know, they're the red light, there are cameras on the school bus, and then also the company pays us the money, and we pay the money to the school, but there's a fee that we have to pay them for collecting those funds for us, and the same with the gov.deals. Those are the fees associated with them providing that service for us.
Okay. So the 232,000, that's gross to us, or is that net of their fees?
We've also received the revenue. That's the revenue, and then we are that's the total amount of the service fees is $237,779. The revenue
No,
is
the
more-
232, that portion for the bus. I'm just trying to
I'm
say,
sorry, yes.
did those red lights generate that much for the county, or is that shared between us and the schools, or us and the?
I
I'm
have
just trying to
look
get a handle
see.
on, because this is the
got you.
first year, right?
Yes, for the schools. And we get a percentage of this as well. But I have to look at the contract. I have it upstairs.
But that's the
and-
gross? Okay, so there's
I get
something
it
to come
for you.
back to remit. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
The board will now consider request of Christy Barnes, Chief Staff Attorney.
Please take them together unless a board member would like to take one separately.
I'd like to.
I would like to hold 21560. I know it's a first read. Is that the one? Am I reading it right?
The one with the pension.
Yes.
Whatever that, the one regarding the pension, can we just hold that?
Yep.
Unless you want to vote against it.
First read, we're going, well, is that your motion?
Is it a first read?
Yes.
Well, if we, don't we want to reevaluate it? So if we don't do anything,
So if we go ahead with the first read and we want to go in a different direction, would you have to?
She would need to re-advertise.
We need to remove it.
Let's remove it. Oh, well, is
Well,
that your motion?
yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move to remove ordinance number 21560 from consideration this evening.
I will second it. Properly moved and second. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question. And Ms. Rooks, and maybe we're on the same page, I think we are, but the process, if we remove it, we're taking off the agenda to consider the recommendations of the pension board as the plan sponsor for these changes. Are we saying to them by removing it, we want to talk to them about these changes, or that we want to send this back to them for an alternative plan?
Both, but because it's a first read, am I correct?
Well, we're making the statement whether we take it off now or later.
But we can't vote on it, is what I'm saying. If
I
it's-
know, but if we take it off for the first read, then it wouldn't come back to be voted.
That's
Until
correct.
the second.
Then proceed-
Unless we wanted to, and that's what I'm saying, is
But
the
we would have
intent
to
to talk about it more,
we would
and then
have to
bring it back?
Have the first read again.
I get that,
Okay.
but at some point, we vote on it after the first and second read.
Yes.
What I'm asking is what you're asking, what we're doing by taking this off prior to reading 2 times and voting on it, or is it to discuss the provisions of this? Or are we sending a message back to the pension board that we don't want to consider this, they should come up with an alternative?
I like the latter, and the reason I would like to take it off is based on what Ms. Bivens said with the budgeting. If we allow it to stay on and vote it down, then we're pushing it, what, a month out?
So the message that we're saying is, take this off, and if you bring something back for the 2 reads in consideration, bring back something different, not the same one.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm
'cause
with you on that.
I want
agree.
to see
just
some
wanna make-
options. I want options.
I agree. I just want to make sure that it's not just going to float around for a couple
Oh,
of
no,
weeks.
no, no, no. I think people have made valid points. I just need to make sure.
I think even if they come back with the same exact proposal, but I think we need to have some other options that we can look at in reference to it.
Thank you. I agree with that.
All right.
Motion?
Mr. Chairman, we need to take a vote.
Hold on a second. We got the motion, we second. Any other questions in reference to it? All right, hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? All right,
Taken together?
take them all together, please.
Yes, sir. Next is resolution number 2015-61, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into a performance agreement with Freestyle Productions, LLC, providing for the terms and conditions under which live entertainment will be performed at Clayton County International Park, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. And again, this is being brought back to you from the last board meeting. We have provided you with an updated performance agreement that removes any conflicts with the county's noise ordinance. And those changes are on page 3 of 7 of the agreement. Next is resolution number 2015-62, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into an agreement with Six Flags Over Georgia on behalf of the Clayton County Human Resources Department, providing for the terms and conditions under which Six Flags Over Georgia park admission tickets will be provided to the county on a consignment basis, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement on behalf of the county and otherwise to perform all other acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the resolution, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. Resolution number 2015-63 is a resolution providing for the amendment of Clayton County's flexible spending account summary plan description, to authorize the chairman to execute any documents necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. This change will reflect the IRS's increased allowed contribution to the flexible spending account from $2,500 to $2,550. Resolution number 2015-64 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to accept the Greenway Trail Master Plan created by Path Foundation Incorporated as the county's guiding document for trail development, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. Resolution number 2015-65 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to apply for and, if awarded, accept grant funds from the 2015 Federal Transportation Alternatives Program through the Atlanta Regional Commission for Clayton County to receive funding to support future trail development in Clayton County, to authorize the chairman to execute the application and otherwise to perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required under the terms of the grant, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. The county is going to apply for a $1.8 million in funding, and there is a 20% local cash match which is required, for which 2009 SPLOST dollars may be utilized. Resolution number 2015-66 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to accept seized vehicles from Clayton County Police Department drug investigations, to authorize the sale of such property in a manner as will be in the best interest of the county, to provide for the dispersal of sale proceeds, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. This is a 2004 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS, a 2002 Chevrolet Venture, a 2004 Ford LGT conventional truck, and a 1995 Lincoln Town Car. Resolution number 2015-67 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to accept a boat and trailer from a Clayton County Police Department drug investigation, to authorize the police department to retain these items for official use by the police dive team, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. This is a 1997 Playboy Eagle Angler pontoon boat and a trailer. Next is resolution number 2015-68, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to accept abandoned property pursuant to OCGA section 17-5-54A1 and to Superior Court Orders 2014 CV 051358 and 2014 CV 051365 for official use by the Clayton County Police Department, to authorize the chairman or the chief of police as his designee to accept the property on behalf of Clayton County, to authorize the chairman to execute any documents necessary and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, all as may be required, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes, and those properties are described in particular on Exhibit A, which is being incorporated by reference into this resolution. Resolution number 2015-69 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to exercise its powers of eminent domain in accordance with provisions of Georgia laws for the purpose of acquiring certain property for use by the Clayton County Department of Transportation and Development for a bridge maintenance project, to authorize the chairman to execute any necessary documents relating thereto, and to otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect an appropriate revenue source and expense, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. And those the three properties are 5195 South Ridge Parkway, 5169 South Ridge Parkway, and 775 Atlanta South Parkway. Next is resolution number 2015-70, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into an agreement with the Board of Education of Clayton County, providing for the terms and conditions under which Clayton County will be compensated for services provided during a special election, to authorize the chairman to execute any document and otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the resolution, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes. And resolution number 2015-71 is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority Police Department to establish protocol and procedures for rendering law enforcement services within unincorporated Clayton County, to authorize the chairman or the chief of police as his designee to execute the MOU, to authorize the chairman to otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to provide an effective date of this resolution and for other purposes, and an updated version of this MOU was provided to you right before tonight's board meeting.
All right. Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Probably moved in second. Any questions on any of the items?
I
Mr.
do.
Edmondson?
I have a question. I saw Ms. Annie Bright a little bit earlier. On the 2015-70, the special called election, about how much does that cost to do that special election for the school board position?
It says right there, $1.
No, that's how much we're paying. How much does it cost?
How much does it cost?
Good afternoon.
Please speak in the mic, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, board members.
Good evening.
I can only give you an estimated cost because this election is going to involve only 8 precincts. So we'll probably run roughly around maybe $13,000 or $14,000.
Okay.
It may go a little over, but it should be around $13,000 or $14,000. It might be less.
Okay. All right. That's what I need to know. Okay.
Mr. Edmondson, you had a question?
Well, I have a couple of questions, but Ms. Bright, while you're up there on that, so as I read this, they're paying us $1 to provide that service in those 8 precincts, and to pay all actual costs that exceed those already assumed by the county. So are they going to pay us the difference of approximately $13,000 over the dollar that they're giving for us?
No, I
Or
don't
are we basically doing
understand.
this for free?
The $1 amount is just the consideration, it's just the consideration for us entering into the contract with the Board of Education. It's just a de minimis.
Okay,
amount.
okay. So they will pay to us those actual costs. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have known that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have some other questions, if y'all are done with 70.
Yeah. I'm done.
On number, and this might be more for Mr. Stanford, on Resolution 2015-61 regarding the music, who on behalf of the purchaser is going to be monitoring those noise levels?
Yes, sir. Michael Burrell is the individual we're entering into with Freestyle Production. So Michael Burrell will be on site along with working with our department and IT department to check the decibel levels prior to the actual concert.
Right, the purchaser is the county, so we're going to trust him to keep his noise down, or are we going to be monitoring that?
It will be monitored by the Parks and Recreation Department along with IT.
Okay, so you guys will have somebody on site?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then it'll just be some random person? Is it going to be the janitor, or you guys have an official noise monitoring position?
Well, primarily with special events, the actual person, the primary contact is our deputy administrator of International Park. So the contact person will be Troy Stubbs.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Hold it. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding 64, about the Greenway Trail Master.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know the presentation and all included the implementation and all that, but did you all make those changes or make that change regarding the North Clayton area?
We would. And so once we get into the actual implementation side of the house, we'll actually come back before the board with a project plan like we did with Commissioner Edmondson with the International Park and Lake Spivey. So we'll make those changes that you've outlined with the connector from Flat Shoals to Virginia Burton Gray to Frank Bailey Senior Center. And before we get into the actual implementation phase, we'll bring that back before the board.
So I'm not voting away my recommendation.
No, ma'am, you're not.
You know what I mean.
Yes.
Like I have given away something already. So will that be a change in that master plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I do. For Ms. Bright? I know we're considering the Six Flags benefits for the county. Have we considered doing the aquarium or World of Coke or some other things outside of just the standard Six Flags?
Six Flags actually approached us, and we've been doing this for many years, and this is a consignment where they consign the tickets to us. We offer discounts to various activities and attractions.
Right.
But we've not been approached by the World of Coke or the aquarium about consigning tickets.
Is there a way for us to do that? Can we
reach
approach
out.
them? Can we do that?
Reach out
So
to
we can
them.
offer more benefits to the employees? Thank you.
You can do the civil and human rights.
Any other questions? All right.
Yeah,
well,
so,
It was moved and properly second Hearing no other questions, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I opposed number 2015-71.
Commissioner Edmondson opposes the MARTA MOU Resolution 2015-71. That resolution passes 4-1. All other items unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I need an executive session for litigation and personnel.
Thank you.
Items number 22 and 23 are appointments to the Development Authority Board and the Urban Redevelopment Agency of Clayton County to fill the unexpired term of Kenneth Stackhouse. He is no longer a resident of Clayton County. Both terms are for 4 years, expiring on March 1st, 2017. These are full board appointments. Does anyone have any nominations?
I would like to hold this for the next board meeting, please.
I'll second that.
Probably move to second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item number 24 is an appointment to the Tourism Authority Board to fill the expiring term of Linda Summerlin. The term is for 4 years, expiring on April 30th, 2019. This also is a full board appointment. Are there any nominations?
I would like to reappoint Linda Summerlin.
Second.
Probably move to second. Those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous.
We will now have the zoning petition. The applicant, Darnell Phillips, is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for a group home for 6 youth. The subject property is located at 4606 Westminster Drive, Ellenwood, Georgia, 30294. It's my understanding that we do have some opposition, so we will hear from the petitioner first.
Please take the mic, sir. State your name for the record.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Darnell Phillips, and I live and I work throughout the communities in Clayton County. And I would like to say from experience that there is a need for the service that I'm going to be offering for youth and families in the Clayton County. I received a letter from the last meeting with the zoning advisory group that recommending a denial based on the homeowner's deed. I have a copy of that I would like to give to you guys if I can.
If you would.
And that, it was opposing restrictions of not allowing business to operate in the said property in which I'm requesting for the conditional use permit for housing for residential care for 6 individuals. Today, I wish to present to you, which I did those copies, and just to let you know that I don't know. I know you didn't get a chance to actually read that, but the copy after reviewing my deed, that language was not noted or presented in there. So if this is the basis of your decision making, I ask you to reconsider for the condition permit to allow me to be able to help some of these young people. That's my goal. That's what I'm out here for.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there any opposition to this request? Anyone who would like to speak?
Oh, Lord.
Okay, do y'all have,
Yeah,
would
Ms.
you all
Whittaker-
like to
Ms.
speak?
Whittaker would be the
Or-
spokesperson.
Okay, she's gonna be the spokesperson. Y'all look like y'all were waiting on that one.
Oh, yeah, they long suffering.
Good evening, Chairman, Board of Commissioner. My name is Addie Whitaker, and I live in Stratford Glen, Ellenwood subdivision. And we of Stratford Glen subdivision and the surrounding communities opposed to having a group home in Ellenwood because it devalues homeowners' property. Our homeowners' insurance will increase. Also, newcomers wouldn't want to buy any homes in this area if they know there's a group home that's involved. We have enough concerns already for the safety and security of our neighborhoods. Examples, drugs, break-ins, theft, and the elderly. Therefore, we as a community are asking the Board of Commissioners to please change the Clayton County ordinance to reflect no group homes of any size of 6 or more and/or 5 or less in any districts in Clayton County unless they meet the criteria of 3 or more acres of land outside, away from any developed community. We as a community thank you all so much for listening to us. We don't want a group home. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening, Board. My name is James Bryant, and I live in Elmwood, across from where he lives at. We want the group home. And I have some question here. I don't know where anyone else could answer them, not besides him. I'd like to know, did he go through all his procedures to have the group home, such as have the inspector, the firemen, and for the state, there's a company that calls Regato that's in charge of all group homes, and they want to know where he's had all his staff inspected for insurance and whatnot, and they want to know, have they all been, our staff is ordered to be inspected so that they can be trained for criminal, they have their criminal background check and everything. And next thing it is, through the regatta, through Clay County, they said that he only needed 300 feet of people's houses, but the regatta says that he had to ask the whole neighborhood so they can, and then report back to them so that they can get kind of an idea how many people would say yeah and how many would say no. And then the next thing is on the bylaws. We don't have, on the bylaws is made up by the contractor that in 1996, and it expires in 2021. So in order to have anything different from what they got in these bylaws, you have to go through Supreme Court. And he haven't been through Supreme Court to have the bylaws changed. So until that time, until 2021, he cannot have a group home on Elmwood, and where we live, you know. And that's about the only thing I have, because I don't know who would ask him the question about his house has been inspected and have somebody from the state been out to accept the septic system or not, because all that had to be done. I got it here in writing, right from the state.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Those
you.
were good points. We really appreciate that. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Good evening, everyone. Just very, Manika Nguyen. I'm a resident of Stratford Glen subdivision. I am, in fact, opposed to the group home. I moved into the subdivision and I wanted to live in a residential area, not a business area. I'm opposed not only to the group home, but the fact that, you know, that is the zoning or trying to become a business area where he would take care of these children. While I commend him, and he says he wants the opportunity to help these children, I think that's fantastic. I think he should either adopt them and they will be his children and his sole responsibility if he's going to move into this subdivision, or he can move, he should think about the what's best for those children. If you have these type of children that have these type of issues that he has previously spoken about, I think they need to be in a conducive area where they would be wanted, and they are not in this community. Yes, they do, a program like this is needed, but just not in a residential area where I'm raising my daughter and would like, to, along with my neighbors, raise our children safe and not to be around children that have a propensity to commit crimes. Previously, I spoke about, I didn't have to do any research about group homes. I previously worked for a group home, and these children, they have great problems, and these type of problems do need to be addressed, but again, it needs to be in an area where they will be able to get the help that they need. Also, he has not clearly identified what type of children he'll have there and what the type of staff. And although he has 20 plus years, I believe he said, of experience, I had very little experience, and I was in charge of an entire group home, and the children ran rapid and did pretty much what they wanted to do, and there was no repercussions except I would take $1 from their allowance, which they didn't care because they stole most of the items that they received. So just, today, I just want to leave you with today our subdivision, tomorrow your subdivision, so hopefully you will decline. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Come forward, ma'am.
Good evening, Chairman Turner, members of the Board of Commission. My name is Sandra Williamson Catino, and I live in Clayton County. I live at 4435 Westminster Drive. I've been living in Stratford Glen subdivision for the last 17 years, and I have seen our subdivision grow from a few homes to adding 2 more additional subdivision in a general area. I raised my son, a college graduate, a professional in computer science in this neighborhood. I've seen other children grow up in our neighborhood, like the young lady in the back, who have come back in our neighborhood and raising her own young children there. I am a middle school teacher and have seen the change over the years of children with all different kinds of issues. This is my 14th year of teaching and have compassion and desire to teach and support all children. But times have changed. It's not taking a village anymore. However, for my quiet community, I do not wish to have trouble boys, not just trouble boys between 11, 18-year-olds living next to me. We have very little problems with crimes in our neighborhood, and we do not want undesirable in our neighborhood. Like Commissioner Singleton said, we're just above being a country within this city, and we want it to stay that way. We are contented with the wild animals invading our gardens. We are satisfied with the way our neighborhood is now and have no desire for this business, which is not allowed according to our bylaws in our neighborhood. We stand firm in our opposition of this business. We do not want it, we do not need it, and we ask for you to vote in opposition to this business as is proposed, not just in our community, but in Clayton County, and make an ordinance that says against these types of businesses, just as our neighboring county, Henry County, has done. Please, we do not want this group home in our neighborhood, our safe, quiet community.
Thank you.
Somebody else.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I won't speak long and really wasn't prepared. I really basically just have simply a mother's plea, and that's why I'm here, and that's really why the rest of my community is here. We do believe that they need somewhere to go. They need somewhere that they can receive the help. We just would not prefer to have it in our community, as most people would probably not prefer to have it in their neighborhoods. So, as my children, well, my 11-year-old can kind of go outside in the neighborhood now and kind of roam freely within, limits, I would like for him to be able to still do that. And should he have that group home in our neighborhood, I would not feel that comfort. So I just would ask for you to decline. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
My name is Elsie Adamson. I reside at 4596 Westminster Drive. I'm right next door to the group home. My thoughts were to have a plan, and my plan had a goal, which was to own my own home in a nice area. Now, this group home is right next door to me, right in my yard. As you can see, I work for a mailing company. I go to work anytime, day or night, when they call me. It's only one person in that department. So if that person called off, I'm the closest thing to that job. So I can get up out of my bed at 11 to be to work at 1, get up at 1, be to work at 3. Right now, I feel pretty safe going out my front door in my driveway and get in my car. But with this group home, I feel unsafe, very unsafe, which could cause me stress, a stroke, a heart attack. And where are these kids going? They're right in my front yard. If I ask them to remove out my front yard, they're probably going to mouth me and tell me where to go. And I don't think I worked all my life just to have this home. I've been on this job 25 years, and my goal was to have a home. So if these kids come right next door to me, and they're transitioning kids, you'll never get to know one of these kids. They'll never get to know me. And I am very afraid for this group home to be next door to me. I live alone. And I'm very afraid. And hopefully your decision would be not to have this group home in our subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am.
Good evening, Board. My name is Stephanie Nelson. I'll be the chair working for Founders Family and Youth Services. And I want to begin by first identifying these children. That these are children.
Excuse me, ma'am. Are you speaking in for or in opposition to?
For.
Okay.
I'm for the group home.
And you work with them, or do you live in the community?
No, I don't live in Clayton County. I live in Gwinnett County. But I will be spending every day 40 hours a week.
Okay, I'll give you just a second. If you would just sit down right there when I bring back up Mr. Phillips. Is there anybody else? Well, hold on a second. Is there anybody else who wants to say anything in opposition? Oh,
Are we good on the time still for the rebuttals?
what's
and
the
things?
time? What's the time, Madam Clerk?
It's supposed to be 10 minutes.
Right, it's supposed to be a total of 10 minutes.
All right, have we exceeded that?
And we have,
It started before 9.
We've already done 10 minutes.
Okay, we're going to take one more, sir. If you go ahead and take the podium, and then we'll hear a rebuttal from Mr. Phillips. If you have that young lady speak, that'll be fine. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is David Tooks. I live at 4627 Westminster Drive. I've been a business owner in Clayton County for almost 12 years. My business address is 6012 Highway 42, where I sell barbecue. I didn't ask the board to rezone my house to sell barbecue. I have a barbecue business, 6012 Highway 42 in Rex.
It's good too. It's the best.
It is
oh
good.
gosh, yeah.
Advertising.
It is. It is so good.
What was the name of that restaurant business?
Okay, we know where to get free good barbecue at.
No, you got to buy it now. You got to buy it. It's good.
Side deal. Mr. Phillips, if you would like to come, if you have anything in rebuttal.
Well, in rebuttal, I've been hearing, and what I do, I'm a licensed clinician, and I work for mobile crisis, so I'm in the community all the time. I visit with a lot of families.
Speak up a little bit.
I said I visit with a lot of families on a daily. Matter of fact, I was supposed to be there today, but they gave me the opportunity to be here to address the issue. But I see it coming and going. Families that is in need, single mothers. We're not talking about when you talk about fields and fields. It's going back to that. Our children are not animals. These are children. We're not talking about children. I'm not talking about dealing with children that, from what was said to be so chaotic. These are the same children that I go visit with families in here right now. These are the same children.
Please, let's respect them.
These are the same children that you have that may have, regardless whatever the issue. It's not all from behavioral or from them stealing. As explained before, we have children that comes in custody because some parents are not willing and want to parent their own children, not because of the child, but because of the grown folks. We have children that comes into custody and care that we're going to be working with, that parents that has died, the other side of the house that no one else sees, that we see daily when we visit hospitals or going to see crying children and have nowhere to go. The Covington House that exists here, that's full of our children that has run away for some reason, trying to find themselves. Children that's living under the highways and the byways. These are the children we're talking that deserve the right and a second chance to be given that. I come from Chicago. I know how it is not growing up without having my father in the life and knowing that someone needed, and I needed someone. So I had to rely when I was in the military. I had to find somebody. I had to pinpoint a mentor or a leader. Now, I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't steal. I didn't rob from anybody. I just needed someone to guide me, and that's what I got, and that's what we're looking to do. And they need to be afforded the same opportunity. Yes, I stay next door to the young lady that was here, but I've talked several times with the community and the individuals that stay right next door on the other side of me, who's a minister, who is willing, he's not here today. But it just saddens me to hear us talk about it like they're it's, and they're nobodies, and that's not being fair. Because I guarantee you, I'll be visiting somebody on a crisis situation that's going through some things that can't handle, that need some time out. Somebody that's misunderstood, and that's what we're looking at, that this somebody just misunderstood, and somebody needs to give them a second chance to be able to. And what we're doing therapeutically, there are group homes that exist in the community right now, in our same community. There's no stats that shows that these young, and I've been there to the sites and talked with them. No, none of the neighbors in a cul-de-sac, so you're locked in a cul-de-sac. Not one of them said, man, we get no problems. Groups homes are not those type of children that we know that comes in that we know is robbers, that's ready to rape. That's not being fair when I hear that type of, like they're nothing, and that's not being fair. Everybody deserves a chance. And in Atlanta, we got a lot of children. And when we got children sleeping at the airport from being homeless, that's something, we got to do something about that. Something has to change. Our highway is changing. Anvil Block is stretching. Sometimes it's hard for change, and I know that. I understand the concerns. Trust me, I've worked in group homes. I've did it all. But I know when change, and I hear the concerns of the people. I do. I take that whatsoever, but there is a greater, and there's something that's greater than me, and that's helping. Thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Gregory.
Mr. Chair, these are petitions and letters that I have received from Stratford Glen, Clayton Crossing, Rolling Meadows. I mean, the people have definitely stated that they don't want this group home. And with that, I make a motion that we deny this petition.
I'll second it.
Probably moved and second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Ejike. Chipotle The liquor license for Chipotle. Where are we with that?
It requires a text amendment to our ordinance for that to happen.
Are we going to be, or do you have, we've been talking about this for, what, a year now? Can we get a proposal for that?
Yet, I will send a formal request to the Lord, to legal, to be able to draft an amendment that will allow us to do that.
We don't want to lose the restaurant.
And-
Every other Chipotle allows it.
And part of it is also the definitions of our restaurant and alcohol places. What we're currently using as definition makes it close to impossible for some of those places to happen. So we're looking at different types of definition that will allow some of it to happen. So those are the challenges.
Can we have a draft by next meeting? It's been a year.
I liked it.
Okay.
I have one question since you're up here. For the last two zonings that I've had to hear, they've been group homes. Where are we on tweaking this or making this so that our county is less attractive for these group homes? Other counties have the ordinances.
Yes, we're actually in the process of changing our code, looking at our surrounding counties to see what they're doing, amending our codes. We actually have one of the initial steps of rewrite that's, as I speak, in the law department that will come to you all so that we can start the process of looking at that whole issue.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Ejike? Hearing none. Motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moved in second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.